this video, I will be adding commentary to the previous Glenn video that I uploaded. So this video isn't really a guide, but more so what is going on and my thought process of the role as the second saint. Keep in mind, this video is pre-astrology, so debuffs and everything is slightly different than how we run now. Before I talk about the 60% phase, I do want to give some small notes on what we do before reaching 60%. Such as luring Kali away from the brazier so when swords are dropping, the brazier area is safer, taunting a haunted BFO, Vivace, and March Song, and as well as using Ego Awakening. Anyways, on to the main part of the video, the most difficult part of Glenn, the 60% phase. The moment we hit 60, it's just all prepping. So you can see some of us using transformation and linking to not only get the extra HP, but to avoid any aggro from the Ember Sprites and to get auto defense from transformation. Our party assigned debuffs for the burst the moment we hit the 60%, so you can see me smokescreen the moment Fate is applied. I see myself getting an Ice Sword circle, so I try to place it far from the group so they can continue prepping their debuffs. Once I'm done with the swords, I'm just waiting for them to be done with their debuffs while applying Overshield before I use my POW, Phantasmal Sight, then Unified Might. It takes practice to set this up, but I recommend trying to melt it. I see NATOs and decide to use Blessing at Protection so my EK can still play aggressive on the boss. You can see here as well that the main saint is able to deliver a really good deer. At this point, I am just sticking to Kali since she is at a good spot while DPS and Saint is working on the deer, keeping my overshield on me and my pet. I get swords again, but this is where I messed up. I realized I was out of Dorcha and started panicking, and instead of using my guns to exit safely, I just walk out. But this shows how important overshield is. I'm able to just walk out of it and even tank a hit. Now I'm just keeping everyone's HP topped and using my pulse so DPS can play aggressive. You can see me try to set a tree, but apparently it's some displacement bug, so I was unable to set it down. I get swords again, which is great so that DPS can keep DPSing. I had Dorcha this time so I can anchor out. I go back in and just try to keep overshield up. Everyone in the party is doing great. Try to add any debuffs that are not on her, specifically Fate, DoD, Glyph, and the Wolf Pet on her when I can. But sometimes if I see someone burning, I'll have to stop any debuffs and focus on healing. As you can see, Second Saint is pretty simple. I'm just spamming heals while sticking to the boss and applying overshields. I drop my Glyph and I just go back to healing. Just party heal, spamming, and just making sure everyone gets overshield. First Saint gets another great deer spawn for us, so I just RI it to stun it and debuff it with my dragon. I notice my pet is at a dangerous spot, so I unsummon it, reapply whale buff, and just try to link again. Keep in mind, I am able to do this because DPS isn't taking a lot of stacks, and I know they can use a full recovery potion if needed. I am paying attention to the HP bar on the top left to be aware of my team's HP. We get Kali to teleport to us after a safe space, which is why you can see me grouping with my team. I apply Fate, play off my pulse cooldown during the Grey World, so we have a safe area. I see someone get swords, so I pay extra attention to them while holding Hand of Restoration, so that they can stack and exit safely. Now that they are safe, I realize that I can apply DoD at a safe space, reapply Fate and PAL to push to 30%. Maybe I didn't need to PAL, but I did anyways. At this point, I'm just making sure everyone's HP is healthy as we get into 30%. We get to 30%, and I try not to crystallize so I can keep healing anyone who is getting burns while they use the crystal or something. At this point, we know at the top right that we have enough time to not have to do the deer and brazier mechanic, so we just DPS to get to 20%. I drop a pulse and I'm just doing anything I can to debuff the boss or help my DPS do damage. Just watching my gameplay, I noticed that my Dorja is really bad. So something I can work on is like improving on that. Get swords again, which is great, so my DPS can keep sticking to the boss, and yeah, just healing my teammates as usual, dropping a glyph, and just making sure I have a healthy amount of Dorja and mana. We phase to 20, and because of my poor Dorcha management, I can't anchor away from the NATOs, but this time I remember I have grapple shot. There's a good level of breathing room at this part if you aren't getting swords so often, and there's also a lot of burning as well, so I use party heal a lot more while trying to keep players' mana shield up and overshield. I like to try to have whale buff at this part and making sure that I drop tree as much as possible so that everyone has like mana and has another way to heal. Tornadoes take a lot more longer to despawn in Eternal Winter, so we like to walk back and try to hold Blessing and Protection as long as possible. If you have good sword placement, you have a lot of space to play with in Eternal Winter. It's really nice to be able to just drop the swords instead of going through the risk of stacking. In Eternal Winter, I like to use Time Shift as well so that I can upkeep Pulse of Purification. But in this video, I think I only have a 3 count for my Time Shift. But if it was higher, I'd probably use something like the big AoE skill that gives Overshield. That's pretty much it for what I wanted to say in this video. I hope it was insightful. I might do more videos like this where I watch gameplay or show my gameplay and talk about it, but there's a lot for me to learn. If you have any questions, feel free to message me in game or comment below. But yeah, thanks for watching and good luck on your runs. You guys can just watch the rest of this video if you like.